Hello dear chess friends, welcome to new video course which will be about former world champion Max Euwe. This video course will start with chapter about his young days. I will start presenting games from his youth days, and you will see how Euwe, even as youngster, was so strong player. Nowadays kids start in 10, 11 or 12 years just to get their norms and international chess titles, but earlier, 100 years ago, in previous century, there was some much different situation. So if you play successfully in your early 20s, of course, you still would be considered as relatively young player. So let's start with first chapter about his youth days and about games he played when he was younger than 23. Let's say first game would be from year 1918, when he was only 17 years old, and that would be game he played and won with black pieces against Gerard Zitterstein, anonymous player. Again, was played once again when he was only 17 years old, and that is actually one of very first noted game of future world champion. There would be 5 games in this chapter about his games when he was young, and the last one chronologically would be from year 1924, I think, when he was 23 years old. Let's start with the game. As I said, Zitterstein-Euwe game from 1918. White played d4 and black offered here transposition to French defense, which was declined. White played c4, d5, and we got some Tarrasch defense after c5. As you can see, since his childhood, Euwe started to play direct chess. Later, commenting chances in his match against world champion Alexander Alekhine, let me know that Capablanca stated that Euwe's playing style is straightforward and direct and clear, and that's why Capablanca at that moment gave more chances to Max Euwe than to Alekhine, which playing style was described as mostly bluffing. And indeed, comparing games of two champions clashes, Alekhine-Euwe, you can easily get same impressions. So later you'll see some fragment from their matches in 1935 and 1937 presented here in video course. You will see how with white pieces, especially in first match, Euwe almost easily destroyed Alekhine. Not once, I think 3 or 4 times Alekhine was lost before move 10, formally lost before move 10. So what is characteristic for Max Euwe? I will just remind you on Capablanca's words that he was a player who had straightforward and direct playing style and clear. He played clear chess. What he wanted to say, that he played normal chess. He defended when it was time to defend. He attacked when it was time to attack. But what is also characteristic for Max Euwe career, especially in 30s of last century, it is that I think he was the first who deeply tried to get into chess opening theory and to prepare specifically for his next game, for his next opponent. I think such deep preparation couldn't be found in games of previous world champions. So I think preparing for opponent started from him. Of course, you know, he was, I think, doctor of mathematics science, and that helped him to go methodically into chess game. So there was no so much improvisation in his games. He wanted everything to have prepared and to keep focus on preparation and on plan he established before the game. So let's go back to the game. c5 Tarrasch defense, popular then, and after cd ed, knight f3, knight c6. Rubinstein patent g3 was already known, but for some reason white preferred here e3. Even nowadays g3 is considered as probably the most dangerous against Tarrasch defense. Knight f6, and now g3, which is absolutely pointless move. After this move, white has only problems of light square complex on the king side. So don't do that in your games. If you open one diagonal for your bishop, use it to activate it. Don't open another one. So if you play g3, okay, put bishop there. No need to play e3. You can play e3 later here if you need, for instance, to support d4 punct, but it is also important to rush with your development and to put king into safety. After knight f6, g3, if white wanted with e3 first to cement pawn d4, that is nonsense. Why? First, it is waste of time because pawn d4 is stable enough. Second, if black takes on d4, white should recapture with piece, with knight, not with the pawn. And just imagine here, instead of e3, white could have bishop already on g2. Next move would be castling and everything would be okay. Black played bishop e6, overprotecting the pawn to give freedom to knight to jump here, for instance. Also, there can be installed battery to use these weakened light squares in white king side position. Bishop g2, bishop e7, castling, and another important instruction moment. You will see how not to play here. White wanted to install piece on d4, but instead of taking, which is normal. Why is that move normal? Well, that move is normal because black bishop is already moved to e7, so black cannot recapture to c5 with his bishop staying on f8. Bishop is already moved, so one tempo is wasted. After this, now knight e2 or knight b5 can lead to installing knight there, and that would be correct. White would occupy d4 punct with unclear and balanced situation. So after knight e2, what should black do? Not to take, of course, that would be very bad. White wants to take himself now, so maybe b6, but that would somehow weaken this diagonal. So we have conclusion that there is c4 normal move. Now it is correct here. White knight is not on c3 and there is no pressure on d5. Just imagine if black plays c4 at any moment, there is b3, and after taking, for instance, all white pieces will be used to attack pawn on d5. Not once white implemented this maneuver, transferring knight to f4 to increase the pressure on this pawn. Bishop traditionally should be exchanged for knight. This time that's not possible, but still it can work a lot from a3 to eliminate bishop e7, which is controlling some important dark squares in black camp. So that would be normal if black plays c4 prematurely. Here, by the way, after castling knight e2, black missed chance to play c4 and played rook c8. We see that black is devoted to active play and he wanted to play in some open situation, to play directly. Knight d4 and knight e4, and another important moment for us to stop. What would you suggest here to white? White knight on d4 is good. Other knight must stay on f3 to support it, so bishop stays closed for a while. On the other hand, there is possibility to take on a6. Should white go for it? You should consider it, of course. Black just jumped with his knight on e4, which is normal if you have isolated pawn on d5. Isolated pawn on d5 helps black to install knight on e4. in case of any exchange, this pawn will be transferred from d5 to e4, and black will get rid of that pawn. So everything is normal from black. White should here, I will say, white should here take it. That is logical approach. And white pawn, black pawn on d5 will get support, but white will intend to prove his bishop pair is important positional factor here. Now maybe knight d2, maybe bishop h3 in some moment. For some reason white didn't go for it. White took there, and black decided to take with b. That is correct. Taking with rook is bad. There is nothing specific on c file. And after knight d4, now good knight on d4 exists. Bad knight, not so good knight on f3 is gone, and bishop is open with terrible pressure on white, on black position. Now there is even such option, as you can check, to crash the structure and to attack both pawns. That is not problematic for black. I just want to note that option exists. So knight e6, very important resource for white to transfer game to position with bishop pair, transformation of advantages. Instead of playing against isolated pawn, you play with bishop pair against bishop and knight. But after knight c6, black played good move, b takes, and now there is hanging pair, which is not easy to attack. After knight d4, black should continue bishop d7. For me, that looks more logical. Now taking on e4 is nonsense, because there are many weak light squares, right? And a lot of spots for bishop d7 to use. So black instead played bishop d4, and objectively strange, formally not bad. Black wants to launch c pawn. Knight stays on e4 forever, because bishop e4 never would be good. And strangely, white played move which is hard to explain. Bishop e4 was played. Queen d4, c5 already gives black initiative, that's true. But e takes d4 would be balanced after, for instance, queen b6. Bishop e4 was played, and now instead of terrible mistake, which was faced with mistake from black side, what should black do? What would you do here as black? Well, I'll say black should just calmly take, and e takes d4 is worse. Black can organize mating attack after queen d7, bishop g4, and something like that. So after queen d4, bishop h3, and after exchanges, that is practically hopeless for white. There is nothing white can do to activate his pieces. Yes, there is rook e1, but okay. Take a look on bishop h3, which can be transferred to f3. King never would come to the game in endgame. Bishop is paralyzed. If bishop gets active on that diagonal, there is rook d2, and that is strategically absolutely lost. Here you can stop deeply to observe that position, and you can just get conclusion black is completely winning. What can help you to get this conclusion in this in similar situations is advice I will say right now. In positions with opposite color bishops, advantage of having better bishop, more influential bishop, is the most important advantage you may get in that position. If you have a more active rook, that can be fixed. If opponent has better structure, that can be fixed. But if you have better bishop, that will usually last till end of the game. That will be fact, and that's something you cannot spoil. If you install bishop on f3, there is no chance for white to get rid of it. There is no chance for white to use bishop c1 on some same effective way. Bishop can be installed on d4, okay, but it is not dangerous. It attacks a7, so what? Black can just play rook d5, rook h5, and to organize attack on white king directly. All that because bishop stays on f3, preventing rook d1. D-file is strongly in black hands. White king never can escape, and you can attack king, or you can attack through d-file, or you can attack on the queen side. You can do whatever you want. So d e4 is correct. young Euwe played strange mistake. He played bishop b6, and now after bishop b6, white played another mistake, bishop c2. Why there? You play e3, you play g3, there are holes on the king's side. Come on, you need to retreat to g2. White wanted maybe to deliver the mate, but there is no mate. Of course, queen f6, black is now already dominant. Why? Because white cannot easily activate the bishop. You see, nor the rook. Rook b1, trying to play b3, bishop b2. Rook fd8. I would more like c5, and later you can decide about the rook, because it maybe belongs to e file instead of d file. So if you have choice between two moves, always do something you will do definitely. Always do something you must do. You will definitely play c5 with idea d4. But maybe you will not play rook fd8. Maybe you will play rook fe8. So that's how you should play chess in your games. b3, g6. Okay, not so needed prophylaxis, but not so wrong. But after bishop b2, still black managed to find fantastic move d4. Concrete and brave move that keeps advantage, self-pinning, but there would be help after c5. Let me say that after this, black gets dominant middle game with his rooks, rook bd1, and now bishop g4 to provoke weakening, and bishop h3 is absolutely dominant. White king is in danger. White bishop is useless. A lot of pawns on bishop collar, a lot of weak dark squares black can use. Domination on the file, and black is absolutely dominant. So one may say black has separated pawns, a7 and c6. I will not call them even weak. If pawns are separated, still that doesn't mean they are weak. If they are weak, they still doesn't mean opponent can easily attack them. And remember, that is very good position to learn about next principle. In middle game, if I have advantage over you, which is based on piece position, and you have advantage which is based on pawn structure, my advantage is always more important. Why? With pieces on the board, especially with major pieces, it is easy to observe that piece advantage must prevail over pawn advantage. What do I want to say? White doesn't have time to attack weaknesses. No time for queen a6, bishop e4, something like that. Black will deliver the mate. Weaknesses, vulnerability of pawns a7 and c6 would be visible only in the endgame. Even not in bishop endgame, because there is c5 and pawns are safe. So maybe in some types of endgames, these pawns would be weak, really weak. But right now, with many pieces on the board, especially major pieces, there are some more important factors. So do not care too much in middle game if you have weak pawns. If you have more active pieces to compensate it, actually you would have some kind of advantage, because once again, factors related to piece positions are more important in the middle game than factors related to pawn structures. So okay, let's go back to the game. After d4, queen e2, c5, bishop d3 was needed to establish the blockade, but after rook bd1 mistake, black just gets exchange. White forgot about that option. If rook fe1, there is bishop a5, and game is over. Black gets exchange. Blunder, but okay, blunder in difficult situation. After c5, rook bd1, bishop h3, e4, white tries to escape, but there is nothing to get. Queen f3, fantastic move. Rook d3 loses pawn for nothing. Queen d3 to expel the queen. Okay, it's better defend, but that will not affect on the result. That will just transfer game to endgame, where white has some blockade, okay, but without exchange, that is objectively lost. So white tried with h4, but now fantastic move c4. Oops, I should ask you to find it, but okay. Don't blame me. Actually, whatever you say, you will be right, you will win the game. But this time, black starts operation of eliminating pawns from the diagonal, operation of opening the bishop, and that's actually the moment I wanted to present this game. Young Euwe, when he was only 17 and not well-known player, here decided to clean diagonal with c4, d3 to open the bishop, as you can see, to attack f2 and to have threat of queen g3. Fantastic decision. After b takes d3, if rook takes, queen takes, of course, with the win. Now bishop takes, queen g3. If queen takes, there is queen f2 with mate on the next move. So bishop takes, queen g3, and now rook d3. Rook defends queen, queen defends rook. After this, white decided to resign. Game is over. Black is rook up. Once again, this remarkable game, white played carelessly e3 and g3. Don't do that in your games. You can do that if it is some kind of English. So and then situation would not be so open. Here in open situation, you must not go for this, because in open situation, every hole will be easier accessible for opponent. So castling, black missed g4, white should capture. Okay. Brave move, white should take on e6. Okay. Now, terrible mistake, bishop e4, and counter mistake, bishop b6. And bishop c2, wrong retreat. Now black gets initiative. And after that, rook bd1, it is clear white blundered. Exchange in a very difficult situation. Rook fe1, bishop a5 with a win. Here black started operation of opening diagonal and won instantly. He was exchange up. Now bishop falls and black is rook up. White decided to resign. That game indeed could warn chess world that some new chess star can be born. Of course, to be fair, that was not so difficult to win the game. White helped young Euwe a lot, but still maneuver c4 and d5 to open the bishop. Maybe if evident, of course, still is so instructive and so beautiful, and that's the main reason I wanted to start the course and this chapter with this game. That would be all about this video and this game. Let's go to next Euwe's game from his youth days.